Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about a setting for the D&D game, Dragonstar. Now, this is not a science fiction game. This is a science fantasy game. It is most definitely Dungeons & Dragons in space. It has all of the core races. It has most of the core classes tweaked slightly here and there, plus an additional class, a mechanical type person. And it takes a lot of the traditional D&D themes and moves them into the science fantasy genre. Essentially, everything in the real world, physics functions, except where physics stops, magic begins. And it's got all the kinds. It's got wizards, and it's got sorcerers, and it's got psionicists, and it's got spells and magic items and stuff. But there are magic items keyed towards a science fantasy universe. Think Star Wars. Okay? So instead of lightsabers, you've got magic swords. Instead of wands so much, you've got blasters. Alright? The basic premise for as far as the setting itself is that, and the reason it's called Dragonstar, is that the dragons are in control. After thousands of years of warfare, the Dragons Council got together and said, okay, we got to stop this. All we're doing is killing each other. We're not getting anywhere. And they decided to set up a system where each dragon house, 5 chromatic, 5 metallic, would rule the known universe for 5,000 years. And then it would hand off to the next dragon house. And the first ones to do this were the gold and the silver, and it went all the way down. And the story in this setting takes place just after the first chromatic dragon has risen to power. The red dragons are now in charge. It's been a few years. They've just taken over. The metallic dragons are now not going to be in control for 25,000 years. I like this idea. I think its execution leaves something to be desired. Because the idea of 5,000-year reigns seems too long. Even for races like dragons, it seems too long to me. I think they need to be shorter. I would make them 1,000-year reigns. And additionally, I wouldn't have all of the chromatic and all of the metallic back to back. That seems like poor planning. That's going to give the chromatics 25,000 years, or even if it's 1,000 years each, 5,000 years, to establish a really horrible universe. And then the metallics are going to have to come in there and fix it all. So, in my version, I have them running alternate. Gold, red. Silver, blue I think is next. I can't remember. I have them set up in power. Each successful one is less powerful than the last, until the last one is the white, which is the least powerful, least intelligent of all the chromatic dragons. And then the next one after that is gold again, who then tries to fix all the damage done and starts the whole process over. Other things I like about this setting is they have a universal generic pantheon. It's known as the 12 gods, and each one is like the judge, the mother. Each one fits a classic role of a deity, but they themselves are fairly generic. Each culture and each planet addresses them in their own way. They might just have different names. There could be 2 of each, so like a male and a female. They could all be under one god and just be considered different aspects of that god. They could be considered an amorphous kind of divine force, and these are all saints or something. So each culture and each planet and such can have a different take on it, but these are the only 12 sources of divine power besides nature, in case you're a druid. I really like the way it has, the feel it has. I think it brings forward enough themes from our world, because if you look at our world, lots of cultures have war gods, and there's a lot of similarity between those war gods. So you just had, instead of having 24 different war gods, you just have one war god, and he can be then viewed from many different aspects. All right. So I like that idea. I really enjoy it. Now this is from 3.0. This was actually not for 3.5, so it may take a little tweaking for those who prefer 3.5 such as I do, but we can do most of those kind of changes on the fly. Production values are high. artwork in this are excellent. I like how they use the races. For example, now that the Red Dragons are in charge, all of the Stormtroopers are orcs. All of the officers of the Stormtroopers are drow. Life is about to get really bad for the good guys. The one thing that made me really love this setting, and here's the book called The Galaxy Guide, more information, was that morality is based on action. That it doesn't matter if you detect that the orc over there in his fiberglass armor is evil. It matters what he does. And if you just shoot him out of hand because your detect evil spell says he's evil, you are guilty of murder because you did not have probable cause. I love that idea. I have always despised the concept that you just dismiss someone because their intent is evil. Intentions have nothing to do with it. It's actions that count. If Ozymandias moves in next door to a temple of a bunch of good guys, and he never breaks the law, you leave him alone. It doesn't matter that he's evil. He hasn't done anything to break the law. You can't touch him. And I like that. It makes things more realistic, it gives them more depth, and it does make life for a paladin a little more difficult. There's also the Player's Companion, more information about different characters. There is the tech book, and I love technology books, the Imperial Supply book, which is very cool. And then we have a race book, which is called the Galactic Races. And all of this is from Fantasy Flight Games. Now, I believe all of these books are still available out there. In fact, at one time they were selling these off as a lot. You get all of them for like a set price. And I believe that they're fairly inexpensive. You can poke around. There are a couple of modules as well. I think I own one. I just wanted to see how it looked, and it didn't thrill me. I was going to use this setting at one point. I was running a Forgotten Realms campaign, and my goal was to have the Dragonstar Empire invade the Forgotten Realms. But the campaign fell apart, the group fell apart, before I ever got to do it, which depressed me because I really wanted to drop Stormtroopers into Sembia. That would have been a lot of fun. So if you're looking for an unusual setting for Dungeons & Dragons, one that has good art, good production values, interesting information, a lot of depth, a lot of background information, I mean, there's a whole lot of gaming right there, you know what I mean? Check out Dragonstar. It's well worth your time.